Okay, guys, alternate ending. Take 43.
With so many movies on the net and TV, it's kinda hard being up and film savvy. Do you catch a show while you're on the go? And how do you know what to keep or what to throw? How do you know what to keep or what to throw? Tune in, tune in, tune in to alternate ending. Tune in, tune in, tune in to alternate ending. Tune in, tune in, tune in to alternate ending. Tune in, tune in, tune in to alternate ending now. Please give a warm welcome to the hosts of Alternate Ending.
Welcome to Alternate Ending, where we're discovering good movies one bad movie at a time. I'm your host, Carrie Jarsinski, and today I'm joined by two very special people who both love movies and have the emotional fortitude necessary for this episode. I have with me Tim Brayton and Madam Mandy Albert. Here,
howdy.
Hello. Here
Hello.
Today. We're here.
You always have Tim Brayton. Why did you introduce me like I'm a special guest? I'm always here.
She still thinks you're special.
I think you're special, and I'd like to categorize that. I added that. I was going to call you Monsieur, and then on a pinch, I'm like, is that how you pronounce it? Is it like
It is not.
See, I'm glad I didn't, and now I've thrown myself under the bus. So
It is not Madame.
it's Madame and
Monsieur.
Monsieur Tim Brayton. Okay, which I thought was flattering, but we're here today because Patreon Jack Chivers requested that we are here to share with you, under the cover of darkness, under the security detail that we've sent to each other's homes, our picks for the top 5 movies we absolutely, with a capital H, hate, that everybody else loves. So, Mandy, Tim, welcome to the Hunger Games.
Very excited for this. I will say thank you, Jack. This was a topic that I think is uniquely well suited to my personality. I have already gotten into a fight with a friend by previewing with that person what I had on my list, and he was like horrified at some of the entries. So I'm in a good spot. I'm ready to start murdering some babies, killing some puppies. It's going to be a good time.
I'm very excited. I was afraid up until we turned on this recording, and now I don't know. It just feels like I have a shield. I'm like, bring it on. I don't care what you people think.
I feel the same. I feel like this is a safe space where it's like, I know you're going to say things that are hurtful to me, and I
always do.
You always do. So I guess I'm settling into it. But also, I just know already that I feel in my heart of hearts that my list is right, and that you're going to have movies on there that are intentionally there to hurt my feelings.
I have only one thing to say to you about this, Carrie.
Yes.
More like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Don't go there. Don't go there. I will rip
It's okay,
apart.
Tim. I think there is a possibility, just based on some cursory research that I did, I think there is a possibility I might hurt Carrie more than you do this episode.
I was not aiming to hurt anyone in particular. I
was not aiming to hurt anyone.
Fair.
It just might happen.
I love that.
I was aiming to hurt both of you. No, I very deliberately took an approach, and a very analytical approach. I wouldn't say I started wanting to hurt you, but I validated afterwards. I wanted to know how much I was going to hurt you, and I realized that it was a lot. So I'm here for, let's call it Passion of Joan of Crap, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Passion of Joan of Fart.
I am here for this. I'm here for this. I also will say,
it's going to be the whole episode.
It is. It is going to be the whole
intention.
episode. I also want to point out, this is a highly sensitive one. We didn't really realize how sensitive it was until this post went up on the website.
Maybe you didn't realize how sensitive it was. As soon as I saw the podcast topic, I was like, oh, no.
You're like,
there were already 27 comments about 5 minutes after it had gone up.
It is the most engagement of anything posted to our
website ever.
Since 2009, when I got like 200 hits on my Star Trek review.
Viral. By alternate ending
Amazing.
standards, it's viral. It not only went viral on the website, it went viral on our Discord channel. And I would say it was like...
To be clear, if it only goes viral within our media ecosystem, I don't think it's gone viral.
I think that's all that matters, though, right?
It went viral in the Discord channel in the sense of being an actual virus that took over the Discord channel for a little bit.
This is true.
There were people who I was like, are you actually okay while this is going on?
I will say it makes sense to me, because ultimately, what is the reason that everyone who comments on our site, and what is the reason why everyone who is part of our Discord, the thing they all have in common, ultimately, is that they enjoy reading my reviews, and my personality is to be unpleasant, mean-spirited, and hateful. So it stands to reason our readership would be disproportionately hateful people.
You know what? I didn't say it. You did, Tim. Again,
it's okay, because I'm the most hateful of you all. I am the most inhumane, monstrous hater, and you are all my little hatelings, and I love you.
The readership is kind and lovely and supportive until somebody says the words Green Book. And then everything goes out the window.
That is for sure. I've only gotten hate mail a few times, and I think one was where I even hinted that I didn't hate that movie, and I think the mail swarmed in towards me. That and Nicole Kidman's eyebrows. So I will say, this is all. Let's promise that we'll leave here liking each other. Nothing again. No, okay. Well, then let's
like
just
I said, I'm fine.
in.
I don't care what you people think.
Right. I do actually. I actually deeply care. And
I know.
I found out that I do care what you guys think, because a couple on my list, I looked back at my rankings of them and I was like, oh, I hated this movie. I despise this. And I was like, 3 stars. And I'm like, that was a lie. That was a lie. And I realized it's that I have a need for validation. And so I'm going to work on that, is what I'm saying. But some of the movies that I've misrated are on my list for today. But welcome
to alternate ending therapy.
That's right. We're all here for it, and it's free. I'm going to throw it to you, Mandy, first. What approach did you take here? What criteria? How did you sort of tackle building out the 5 movies that you absolutely hate, but everybody else loves?
So I will say, I am very happy that you all invited me here. Thank you so much for doing so. This one was tough for me for 2 reasons. One of them is that I think that I think and I hope that my brand is actually a little bit more that I love stuff that everybody else hates. That's almost the point of my monthly column, is that I think a lot of the movies that I review are actually kind of good, yes, even though they were the receivers of a great deal of bile flung their way when they came out. And so I kind of had to reverse my usual way of looking at things. The other thing is that because I hang out in the alternate ending Discord, I have been ruined on my perception of what everybody thinks. And every time I go in there, thinking that I'm going to go throw a grenade into something and offer a spicy take, and I'm like, hey, you know what I hate? This movie. Everybody in the Discord is like, oh yeah, that movie blows. So,
again, we are a people filled with rage, hatred, and judgment.
So I have a very skewed perception of how everybody else views certain movies at this point. So the way that I approached this, a thing that is not on my list, things that I did not put on my list, are movies where this just isn't my thing. Mm-hmm. So for example, I am not a big fan of Blade Runner. However, I know objectively that Blade Runner is a very well-crafted, well-put-together, beautifully acted movie. And it's just not my thing. It just doesn't click with me. That kind of spectacle does not really do it for me in that way that it does for a lot of everybody else. And that's fine. But the thing is, it's still a good movie, and I know that. And to me, it's not really fun to pick on it because of that. Because I'm basically just saying, I am cranky and grumpy about this thing that very reasonably brings you all joy. So what I tried to go for on my list are movies where genuinely, when I look at the critical and public reception of this movie, I'm like, what the hell movie did you people see? Because it wasn't the same one that I saw. So I have tried to go for movies on my list where I think these are actually bad, or at least not good. And I seem to be the only one or one of very few people who realizes that.
Wait, so you've picked movies that you love? Have I done this?
No, I've picked movies that I think are actually bad.
Okay.
Like, they're not movies that I'm like, this I know is actually a good example of what it is. Just I don't like the thing that it is. And so my desire for it is that it was another movie and not the movie that it really is. These are movies where it's like, I think I could have liked these movies, but I think that they're bad.
Okay.
And so I don't like them because they're bad. And everybody else loves them because they don't recognize that they're bad.
I got it. I'm with you. All right, Tim, did you approach it the same way? What did you tackle this?
Quite the opposite, actually. I'd say I would say at least one of the films on my list is probably objectively good, but it is so intensely not my thing that I think it's an objectively good version of something that is poisonous and wretched.
That's the one that I love. I could tell by your face.
I don't even know if you've seen the one I haven't.
Okay.
We'll get there. So I'm definitely erring on the side of this is a thing I personally don't like. What was tricky for me, I certainly agree with Mandy. I have a very skewed sense of what is it that people do and do not like. So I tried to check myself against two things. I used the IMDb top 250 as the closest we have to the objective measure of most people really like this thing. So extra points based on height ranked on the IMDb top 250. Could have also just called up Rob and been like, Rob, do you adore this movie? And he would have said yes. And I would have been like, well, then
top 5.
Then there we go. Also looked at Letterboxd averages. And Letterboxd is not quite as flat, I'd say, as IMDb is. Letterboxd has its preferences for certain kinds of things. So I didn't weight that as highly. But certainly I was looking for things that at least did fairly well on Letterboxd. The other thing is, I don't know that I hate, with a capital HATE, most of the films on my list, because most of the films that I hate, I would not say most people love. Like I would say that, for example, the 2004 Best Picture winner or 2005 Best Picture winner Crash is a movie that I hate, but everyone knows that. No one likes Crash. No one's going to bat for Crash. I'm sure some people go to bat for Crash, but they are not the majority of people.
I think that my opinion towards Crash of, it's not that bad is pretty much about as warm as people are willing to go on it at this point.
This is what I'm saying. So I had to look for films that I was confident people mostly liked and or loved. And once I've done that, there's really actually shockingly few things left that I would say get my blood boiling. I also put a 5-year cutoff. And the reason for that, I would go back to, as I just name dropped my 2009 review of Star Trek, where I received death threats for having, an opinion that was a 2.5-star rotten of a movie that at that point had only 5 rottens on Rotten Tomatoes. So, in 2011, I would have 100% put that as the number 1 film on my list. But, 13 years later, I don't like it any better, but I don't think people are still like, oh yeah, that's one of the great popcorn movies of our day. So I wanted to let that sort of filtering out effect happen. And for the same reason, my heart told me to put Everything Everywhere All at Once at number 1, a movie that I find, this would be my version of your thing, Mandy. I think that people who say they love it are just mistaken. I think they fell asleep during the movie, they dreamt a better movie, and that's the one they're talking about. But we'll see. In 5 years, maybe it will still be regarded as a classic, and then it would make my version of this list. But for right now, I cannot, in good faith, say that a movie that's less than 12 months old counts.
Mm-hmm.
This is super amazing, Tim, because I think I took literally the exact same approach as you did. Like I said, I took a very analytical approach. I wanted to make sure that I was being accurate in my representation of everybody. Everybody loves. So I know I have differing taste than both of you. So I was like, okay, I got to get out there. I got to get the film critics. I got to get humanity. I got to get their rankings. So all of my movies, for the most part, have about a 97% or higher Rotten Tomato score.
Okay.
And both on audience and critics, for the most part, are above 90%. And these are still crappers in my mind. Really don't like these movies. So the other thing that I did, I was like, okay, I got to make sure if I'm saying everybody that this also means Mandy and Tim. So I did go out and stalk your Letterboxd. Tim, for me, every single movie on my list is 5 stars for you. So
very excited.
Wait, for both of us? Because I don't think we have all that much.
I was going to say that there probably are not 5 movies that you and I have both given 5
Mandy,
stars.
I couldn't find all of yours, but I would. You hadn't put these in your letterbox, but I would venture to say at least 50% of mine are 5-star movies for you as well, knowing your taste. But I'd love for you to confirm as we go through.
Okay.
But hate is a strong word. I do hate these movies. I want to be very clear. I do hate these very much, and for very specific reasons, which we'll go into. I told you already that I think I'm a liar. A couple of them I gave it 3 stars, and I was like, these were not 3 stars. I did not enjoy myself in any way seeing these, but neither here nor there. I'm going to evaluate that after this podcast.
I will say, as far as star ratings go, I tend to be angriest at the movies I give 2 or 2.5 stars to. Like a movie that I give 1 or a half or 1 star to, I had a good time. It was a big old piece of shit.
Yes.
A movie that's 2.5 is wasting my time. So
yes.
I hate that more.
Yes, agreed. And I almost was tempted to just be like, is this just a list of Orson Welles movies? But then I was like, you know what? We have to limit ourselves. So then I was like, okay, I'm going to choose maybe 1 Orson Welles movie, maybe 1 anime movie. Maybe I didn't want to like have it be overrun with certain types of garbage. So I tried to like sprinkle my garbage evenly.
Thank you for not having 5 Studio Ghibli films. I would have had an aneurysm.
Spoiler alert, there are no Studio Ghibli films on my list, even though I am not a big Studio Ghibli fan, because again, that violates my criteria of I look at these and I know that objectively these are lovely movies. They're just not my thing.
Okay. I just feel like we're tiptoeing right into a fire right now, but I think we should do it. Mandy, you got to kick us off. I'm going to cover my eyes with your number 5.
Okay. So I will also say that my ranking is based on how angry I think I'm going to make everybody else. So number 5 is the least likely to get me death threats, and number 1 is the most likely to get me death threats. Okay. I think that is my assessment of these. Okay, so I had my top 4 picked out pretty early on, and then there were 2 movies fighting for my number 5 slot for a little bit. And I will say that the movie that lost the race for my number 5 spot, so this would be my number 6, I guess, was Fight Club. Because the more that I looked at Fight Club, I realized that Fight Club is more like controversial. I'm going to completely steal the wording from a comment on the website, but controversial rather than universally beloved. And
yeah, I would certainly not have it anywhere close to my movies that I enjoy. I have this weird refusal to believe people actually love it. I think people love talking about it, but I don't know if they love it. I don't know. Maybe that's uncharitable of me.
I have students who love it. And who are absolutely astonished that I don't love it. And I think you are correct that it is, in fact, largely because they are teenagers. But point being, that one I don't think counts as universally beloved enough to put it on this list. So the one that actually did make it is the closest that I came to violating my rule of can't have these on here just because they're not my thing. Because it is a James Bond movie. And James Bond movies aren't really my thing. However, there are James Bond movies that I like. They are ones that are very different from this one. But for many of the ones that I don't like, I'm still kind of like, okay, I understand how this is the thing of the people who do like the entire James Bond series. That does not apply whatsoever, however, to 2006's Casino Royale. That is my number 5.
I second that one. Second that.
I do think that is, in fact, about as close to as we have to like a universally regarded as great James Bond film.
Indeed. I didn't actually do the background research that you did, Tim, but I just looked it up real quick, and it has a 3.9 average score on Letterboxd, which that's pretty darn good for a Letterboxd ranking, I think. Mm-hmm. And also just among my friends on Letterboxd, everybody is like 4.5, 4, 5, 4.5. So yeah, I think that one's pretty close. I will say that I tend to favor for my Bond, like my favorite James Bond movie, and I think I'm the only person in the world who feels this way, is Octopussy. Like you are almost certainly the only person in the world who has that as your name. I like goofy James Bond. I want James Bond to be exclusively campy and goofy and unnecessarily sexual. That's what I want out of my Bond. However, there have been serious Bond movies that I did enjoy. I absolutely detest Daniel Craig's James Bond. I do not think he looks like he's having any fun. I don't have any fun watching him. I think that his facial expression that he wears the entire time just makes him look like he really has to poop. And just, I find this movie an absolute slog to sit through. It is depressing to me. And I don't think it wants to be depressing, but just like, I can't get through it anymore. I successfully got through it once and I was like, I don't like that very much. Then everybody kept talking about how great it was. And I was like, okay, maybe there was just something that I didn't see. So I tried again, and I have tried a third time since then.
Bold.
And both of those times I failed to finish Casino Royale. I just find it so difficult to get through. And I do not like that interpretation of the character at all.
I thought we weren't going to get along, Mandy. I'm here for that. I'm just like, really? I just think it's a bunch of dudes or people that want to like live vicariously through a guy who just gets with tons of women and drives cool cars really fast and like wears a nice suit. And it's like,
but there's not even any emphasis on the stupid manly fun stuff that he does in this one. It's just on James Bond's feelings now.
Yeah.
And how now he's vulnerable and inexperienced and mad about everything. And I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care
Go
either.
sleep with somebody.
Go sleep, right.
Get some of your feelings out in a healthy way.
You know, there is sexual habits that you have with many women. Yeah, I agree. Healthy pushing out of those feelings. I agree with you. I did not love this movie. And in general, I thought about having James Bond, just in general, like all James Bond on my list. But it didn't quite make it there because there's some that Tim loves more than that are available, apparently. So that is an excellent pick out of the gate.
Thank you.
I will say I love this movie a lot, but also I'm so burned out by the thing it begot. Like, I think the Daniel Craig era of Bond is so terrible, frankly. I'm not going to die on the hill of like, no, you're wrong about Casino Royale. What actually does offend me, Mandy, is that you claim to say that your favorite Bond is the campy, goofy, sexual Bond, and yet you would put Octopussy above The Spy Who Loved Me, which is...
The Spy Who Loved Me is probably my second favorite. But Octopussy is so goofy and so campy, and I just always have such a good time.
It's the one where he dresses as a clown, so I get that.
It is, and I have such a good time anytime that I watch Octopussy. I kind of want to go watch Octopussy now.
I think we'll all take a drink every time you say that word.
Octopussy.
Octopussy.
I'm going to take another sip of my herbal tea.
Let's get Carrie drunk. Octopussy.
I will end with one final thought, if I may.
Of course.
Please.
More like Casino Royale.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
I intend to do 15 of those.
Good. I'm glad that you are taking this responsibility upon yourself, because I can't think of stuff like that on the spot.
Tim always can. Tim, break our hearts with your number 5.
So I wanted to be as honest as I possibly could. I didn't want to just lard my thing up with new movies, because as we all know, I think that all new movies are bad and all old movies are good. So I set myself a challenge. My number 5 had to be a black and white film. This was extraordinarily difficult for me.
And it couldn't be The Artist.
I like The Artist. Quite a bit, actually. No, it had to be a film that is in black and white. It had to be a classic Hollywood or other film, but Hollywood. And what became hard was there's plenty of black and white films I don't like. There's even some that I hate, but there's none that I hate that other people don't also hate. Like, I can't come out here with like, a movie I think is shit is Gentleman's Agreement, because everyone knows that. So the best I could do, and I don't think it's actually very good, a movie that I don't like at all. It's regarded as a classic. I mean, I don't think anyone's like, this is my favorite movie, but people look fondly on it, that I just have no time for at all, is the 1931 groundbreaking American horror film, Dracula, directed by Todd Browning, starring Bela Lugosi. It is an 8-minute prologue that is some of the coolest, most beautiful atmospheric horror ever produced, followed by an hour of people in an overlit parlor talking. And I find it insufferably boring to sit through that remaining hour of that movie.
That says a lot, because I've heard you talk about sitting through like silent movies for 4 hours and you're like, I loved it. It was just really good.
That's because they're silent movies. No one's talking. People talk. They just won't stop talking during this movie. They just talk and talk and talk. It's very frustrating.
You've also given like 4 to 5 stars to movies with sound that also literally have no dialogue. I think that's more what Carrie is thinking of.
I have a thing that I like.
You do.
and it's when people don't talk.
But other people, you're saying everybody else likes this garbage Dracula movie is what you're saying.
I'm not happy with this one, really. It was important to me to keep myself intellectually pure that I put a classic Hollywood movie on my list. And I think this is probably the one that comes closest to having this is not like a movie that has 5-star average on Letterboxd. It's not 9.5 on IMDb. People think it's okay. I don't think people think it's wonderful.
I was going to say my take on Dracula 1931 is that it's okay. I do enjoy watching Bela Lugosi take it extremely more seriously than everybody else on screen. That does bring me a lot of joy to watch. But there are probably 4 or 5 other cinematic adaptations of Dracula that I would watch before this one.
Agreed. And I think that many people would agree with that as well. So again, this is not me throwing a bomb. This is more me just sort of kind of throwing out a grenade, but it didn't actually I didn't pull the pin and it didn't have gunpowder in it in the first place.
I think it will cause people to raise some eyebrows. And I think that might be about as much as you could expect for that one.
Much like Bela Lugosi himself raises his eyebrow in this film.
Does he only have one?
Well, no, but he does this arched eyebrow thing.
Oh,
it's
okay.
One of his gestures.
I thought maybe you had a unibrow and you were making a joke that I was missing or something.
No, I wouldn't make
that would be mean and uncharitable.
I'm not like that. I'm not a mean person.
That's true. You're kind and warm. And so I'm going to go to my number 5.
I'm not done.
Oh.
More like crapula.
Oh.
To you, Carrie.
I will. I'd love for your pun on this movie because this is one in which the audience loves it. 97% of them love it. People were raving about this movie. Tim, you raved about this movie too. And the whole time you and Rob were commiserating about it and you were hugging it out and crying because you loved it so much. Secretly in my mind, I was just these douchebags. I hate this movie. So
all right.
sad. I wasn't really thinking.
I'm excited.
This is stupid. I hate this movie. It's basically stunt porn. And it's, again, this was didn't choose James Bond, but in a different series in which all these dudes are out there just projecting their dreams onto this one man. To this
That's
one
what
person.
Movies are for, though. You do understand that is the specific thing movies are meant to do.
No, you go out there.
You said that about James Bond, and I'm well, that's exactly correct. That is why James Bond is valuable.
You go out there and get some babes. Go out there and do it. We all live vicariously through these people, and you, Tim, can be Tom Cruise. You too can dangle from a helicopter. You too can break your stupid ankle on a building unnecessarily when you could have had a stunt double. This is Mission Impossible Fallout. I hate this movie.
That is too bad for you.
I don't remember this movie.
You don't, because there was nothing important about it. It was just that every person that watched it that just, again, wanted to be Tom Cruise was wow, he's dangling from a helicopter. Wow, he's dangling from a building.
I think you are misunderstanding the pleasure of it, though, is not that I want to be Tom Cruise. It's that I want to see Tom Cruise die on camera. And if it involves being horribly disemboweled, so much the better.
I see.
But he won't in a Mission Impossible movie.
He might in a Mission Impossible movie. That's the pleasure of it.
I think that's your take. Rob's watching this movie purely wanting to be this guy. Rob afterwards is I'm going to look into helicopter lessons. I'm going to become stronger. I'm going to go start climbing ropes so that I can be just like this person. And I'm just man, I don't know. Get a hobby.
Carrie, did you actually make your list just to hurt Rob? Because that's what I'm hearing right now.
It will. No, but Tim also has us at 5. But I'm trying to think of any.
I have this extraordinary. This is my favorite action movie. This is my second favorite action movie of the last 20 years. So
I know.
This is a movie I adore very much.
I remember literally nothing about it. And again, if there's a movie that you don't even remember what happened, Mandy and I don't remember. We don't know what happened in this movie. It cannot be a good movie. Even though 97% of people say it is, Mandy and I say no to you people. This is
I wouldn't even say I hate this movie. I just I do know that I watched it, but I don't remember the experience of watching it. I remember Mission Impossible 2, which was the bad one.
But
I don't remember Fallout.
Yes, exactly. And you don't need to. More like Tim.
I'm working on it. This one doesn't give me a lot to work with.
More like Mission Impossible.
I was going to say more like pissing impossible, balls out, but that's That's almost not even an
aggressive.
insult to call this movie Balls Out.
Yeah.
Mission Impossible.
Or like
calling out how bad it is.
No, that's worse.
That's worse. I'm sorry.
So much
you
worse.
didn't give me a lot to work with on this one. I'm sorry. I'll keep workshopping if I come up with something better.
I'll send you my list so that you can try and prep in advance. Well, thanks for that one. Mandy, that sends it to you for your number 4. And
does it now? Okay.
What is
all
it?
right. These are all the ones that I'm sure about. And this is one that I'm going to take a lot of glee in hating. So this movie is a sequel. The first movie in this series, and I was a latecomer to this series. This was a movie that, like, when I mentioned that I hadn't seen it, my husband was like, "We're sitting on the couch and we're watching this movie right now," and he was correct because I loved the first movie in this series. The first movie in this series is one of my very favorites of its type ever. It is an extremely tight, edge of your seat, I think less than 90-minute thriller. And it was so good. And I loved every minute of it. And so I was very excited to sit down and watch the sequel because, among other things, everybody had been like, oh, if you loved number 1, you're going to really love number 2 because number 2 is even better. And then number 2 sucked.
What? I need a clue.
It was
I want to
such
know.
garbage.
Oh my gosh.
And the garbage that I'm talking about that all you people seem to think is good, seem to think is better than the good one for some reason, is Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Well, that is wrong. That is a wrong.
I do not want to watch Arnold Schwarzenegger, who played one of the great movie monsters of that era, be a dad for 2.5 hours.
What?
That is not a good thing.
It's the best thing. Then he takes him under his wing. He needs a dad figure in his life. Who better to protect him than Arnold
What he needs is to not
Schwarzenegger?
exist because he's one of the most annoying movie children I can think of off the top of my head.
That's fair. That's actually fair.
I will say I find the idea that Terminator 2 is better than I like Terminator 2 a lot. The idea that it's better than Terminator 1 is deranged. Like that should be a DSM condition, thinking that T2 is better than T1.
And yet so many people were like, yeah, Terminator 2 is even better. It's the peak of the Terminator movies. And I was like, great. And then I sat down to watch it and I was like, this is boring.
Wait.
And for me, Furlong is the main reason why that is the case. He is
like
so bad.
You all took everything that was awesome about Terminator 1 and just threw it in the toilet and made me watch 2.5 hours of Arnold Schwarzenegger awkwardly being a dad, culminating in 20 minutes of him failing to die.
Wait. I have DSM. What do I have?
What?
You said DSM.
No, I'm saying
he's saying you have a mental illness.
Saying Terminator 2 is better than Terminator 1 should be like a diagnosable psychiatric condition.
I was wondering what the acronyms because I have DSM because I love Terminator 2.
DSM is the actually what does it stand for? It's the big book of like
the diagnostic something.
Diagnosing something manual.
It's like the manual of everything diagnosable that can be wrong with you.
I see.
Mentally.
I see. Okay. Well, then I think I have that. Terminator 2 is absolutely better than number 1. And
it is not.
My
God.
For sure is. Here's the thing, though. Here's what I'm questioning in my mind now. I think I saw Terminator 2 first, interestingly. And I wonder, I'm evaluating myself now on this therapy session we're having. I wonder if I had now built him up as this like kind robot or whatever he is and was like, oh, he's a dad. And then if I watched 1 after and I'm like, oh, Arnold is mean, like I'm upset by that. I don't like when Arnold is like the bad guy,
Given especially that we're talking about you and I know how you feel about movies and movie plots like Terminator 2, I would 1000% believe that happened.
Yes. 100%.
But yeah, I was mad by 1. I was like, do I even like this movie? I don't like this guy. The whole thing was very upsetting for me. So I will say this. If 1 shows up on your list, Carrie, I'll be so much more upset that I am than 4 showed up on Mandy's list.
Or the two showed up on my list in position number 4.
Number 4, that's what I meant.
If 4 had showed up on my list, everybody would be confused because they would be like, what does everybody love?
Yes, I meant 2 in position 4, yes.
All right,
yes.
Well, we will find out.
I will admit that Robert Patrick is very good in his role. I also do not care because everything that surrounds him is garbage.
Is he he's the one that's, the police officer.
He's new and improved.
He's the liquid metal cop.
Oh gosh, I love him too. He's so good.
And now I'm very curious what Terminator 2 has on Letterboxd as its average.
I looked it up.
So-
It's 20. It's an average of 20 stars.
It's an average of 4.2?
Yeah.
What the hell is wrong with you people?
Because everybody loves it.
Letterboxd is a Jim Cameron place, you know?
Oh my
No,
God.
no Jim Cameron film is going to do bad on Letterboxd.
Oh.
I mean, I do like this movie a lot, but I do not bring it into my heart the way that, again, I bring T1 into my heart. So I'm not rooted in my heart.
There was also at my old home amusement park, there was a roller coaster called T2 that was also a very bad roller coaster. And I realized that's not the fault of the movie. However, they are now linked in my mind because they are both garbage.
I appreciate that mental linkage.
More like terminate it, you know?
Well, the best one I can come up with is lightly homophobic, but I get to say that. So more like T2 Judgement gay.
Oh, I don't think you can say that.
I can and I did.
Okay.
That's the thing.
Well, you
More
did.
like Terminator poo, am I right?
Yeah. Thanks, Mandy. Thanks, Mandy. I appreciate it. Way to keep it clean. I appreciate it.
Are you a movie fan who loves movie special features? Do you wish you had access to the behind the scenes of making movies? Or maybe you're a filmmaker looking for ways to learn more about the filmmaking process. Sizzle Pitch gives anyone access to making movie magic with zero experience required. We create what are called sizzle reels, which are mini film projects that help filmmakers show what their idea could become in a feature film or TV show. Sizzle Pitch creates a community where you can purchase truly unique access to behind the scenes of each sizzle production for yourself or for someone else. You'll learn about the entire process, from producing to special effects to meeting cast and crew. It's a bit like crowdfunding, but you get way more than just a final product or a t-shirt for your participation. You'll gain access to indie filmmakers, Q&A videos with the crew, updates on production, and the opportunity to support creatives who deserve a light cast on their projects. You'll get unparalleled access to filmmaking to kickstart your own filmmaking career, to meet like-minded film lovers, or to scratch your movie-making itch. Sign up or reach out with questions at sizzlepitch.com.
All right, Tim, give us your number 4. I can't wait.
All right. I think here's the one where I'm actually hoping to start like stepping on some rails. This is a movie that was a great, big, huge deal. This is an Oscar-winning movie, not the last Oscar-winning movie. That'll be on my list, mind you. People, I think, had their childhoods defined by this. It remains a beloved subject of memes. And I think it literally ruined an entire medium of filmmaking. I am referring to 2001's Shrek.
Oh, yeah, I don't like that either.
Okay. What about you, Carrie?
You know, I'm not hurt. I'm not hurt.
Okay.
I'm not like offended and not hurt, but I didn't hate the movie. Like, it wouldn't come up on my list. I didn't hate it. I liked the donkey. I always quote the like peeling back the layers of the onion. Like, I use quotes from it occasionally. I don't actively hate it, but what do you think is so terrible?
I hate what it did in the world. I mean, it is bad. It is a badly animated film. It has aged like soft cheese in the desert, and it looked bad in 2001. And anyone who says otherwise is just flat out wrong. This came out the same year as Monsters Incorporated. Put these two films next to each other, and I double dog dare you to tell me that this film looks good. So it has very stiff, very ugly animation. It also, more importantly than that, like, it created this norm in commercial animation of, well, we're going to cast voice actors, and we're going to do that regardless of whether they bring anything to the table whatsoever. Cameron Diaz is an absolute, she is a pail of skim milk in this movie. She has no vocal personality. She does nothing at all. She is there so that they can put the name Cameron Diaz on the poster at a cost of quite a lot of money that could have gone to God knows how many actual voice actors. So I don't like that it did that. It totally did the thing where animated movies like spend a bunch of money on like top 40 hits for no reason. It's just like, hey, maybe this ogre listens to Smash Mouth. And it's like, does he? Do ogres listen to Smash Mouth? Is that a thing that happens? And yet, you know, now, thankfully, that at least seems to have kind of petered off. But for like 10, 12 years, that was just what soundtracks were. They were just a bunch of fucking pop song needle drops. And it also led to this, I think, really horribly ugly knowingness, like this kind of self-aware, we're gonna comment on how like stupid other things are, and we're going to be super cynical and ironic, and that's going to make us look sophisticated, and critics rewarded them for that. And that was, if you go back and look at the reviews of Shrek in 2001, that's the constant tenor, like, oh, it's so smart, it's just taking Disney down a peg. And it's like, fuck that. I believe that the just glib insincerity of Shrek is poisonous, mentally poisonous. I think we're through the worst of the post-Shrek in some ways, and on the other hand, I think it's sort of transmuted into like a new version of the thing that it is.
We did get Ralph Breaks the Internet not that long ago.
Ralph Breaks the Internet was not that long ago. But then I look at something like Encanto, which I also don't like, but I don't like for an entirely different set of reasons. So maybe we're into a new era of why animated films are all bullshit. But certainly Shrek, I think, had just a profoundly negative impact on the medium that is the most important thing to me.
So,
and that's why I hate it.
That said, though, back in the day, you said looking back at reviews from back then, the critics loved it. What did you give it?
Again, it won the first ever Oscar for Best Animated Film.
And what did you give it back in the day? Are you harsher on it now than you were back then, or were you just as harsh back then?
I've always hated it. I didn't see it in 2001. I didn't see it until I didn't see either Shrek or Shrek 2 until Shrek 3 came out. And then I was like, well, I guess I better see these goddamn Shreks. And I didn't like either one of them. I like Shrek 2 less, but Shrek 2 had less of a major impact on the culture around it.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I did see Shrek in 2001, and I did like it in 2001. I was also 11 in 2001, and people who are 11 are stupid.
Mm.
That's their market.
Agreed.
That's their market. And again, I didn't hate it either, but we'll leave that there as well. All right, I'm going to cover up your faces while
I want to point out Shrek is already the German word for shit.
Oh.
So part of me just wants to say more like Shrek.
Wait, isn't Shrek the German word for terror or horror?
Oh, is it?
Because
Drek is the German word for Shrek. Drek is the German word.
Yeah, Shrek because the joke has always been that Max Shrek, who played Nosferatu, had like the best name ever for the role.
Right.
I will say that I do actually like the fact that I was 11 and liked this when it came out. I think actually adds to your argument because it convinced a generation of children that this is what animation should be.
But that being said, my snotty toss off because I just have no use for this movie at all will be more like fuck.
All right. All right. Hang on. Wait. I'm going to slide my notes over your faces for this next one. Mandy, I imagine you love this in my mind. Tim, don't hate me. This movie freaks me out. I have always hated this movie.
This is a promising start.
This movie I saw as a child. I was angry at my mother for showing it to me, like very angry, upset. And she still brings it up today. Like, how could you have thought this movie was so bad? It was so sweet. It was so lovely. It was so heartwarming. And it's not. It is a flaming pile. Basically, everything about it freaks me out. I'm 100% sure that this prolonged death scene in this movie is what led to the therapy I had to go to in 6th grade. I think there's a lot of swearing in it that I don't appreciate. The main character's face is alarming to me. I'm not a big fan of Elliot's face. And the last thing, the other main character ends up in this death scene looking like a baked white dog turd.
I'm going to set you on fire. I'm going to set you on fire.
The dog turd
and
scene.
I'm going to take your children away from you so you cannot poison them.
I do like this movie.
This movie is just trash to me. 99% on the tomato meter. This is E.T.
Because it's good.
E.T. the extraterrestrial. My childhood trauma wrapped up into 2 hours. I think this movie is the worst. I do not find E.T. cute. I think he looks like again, aging dog turd. And
he sometimes even looks like a wet dog turd, but that's neither here nor there.
I can't handle wet dog turds. Like, I like when they're dry. I think his fingers are the most alarming. Like, when he reaches out to touch the fingers, I'm like, I considered becoming like a hand doctor after that, because I'm like, I have to figure out how to fix his fingers. Like, why are his fingers looking like that? As a child, I was so alarmed by them. I hated the whole thing. And I watched it again as an adult. my mistake. I was like, maybe with adult eyes, I'll start to think that this is better. And with adult eyes, I was like, I'm so sorry, children, that I have done this to you. This movie is the worst.
Did
your children like it?
Yeah, they did.
There you go.
Good. Then they have not been fully corrupted by your evil.
They didn't love E.T. either. They weren't like, wow, cute alien.
I'll take they didn't hate it. I mean, it's definitely not a movie that a child born in the 21st century has a whole lot of ways into. It is a movie from the 80s.
It for sure is. I don't know. Elliot, like I said, Elliot's face in general, I find off-putting.
He is a 10-year-old boy. That is a terrible thing to say.
You're right. That's fair. But he's all squinty, and I'm just like, I don't know. I just felt like I didn't care what happened to Elliot. And while I wanted E.T. to survive and rehydrate, I still was just like, turn this movie off. I don't want to see it. So,
you know who Elliot is a much better child hero than? Edward Furlong in Terminator 2.
I mean,
same category.
By any conceivable metric.
Both off-putting. I put them in the same bucket of off-putting.
And yet I still would not say, you know who's a big old uggo?
I didn't say uggo. I didn't say uggo. I just said off-putting.
You know whose face makes me want to just like barf all over the movie screen? Edward Furlong.
Edward Furlong's face. I did not say that about either of them. They're aesthetically fine. I just don't like their faces. That's what I'm saying.
I rewatched this movie on IMAX for its 40th anniversary, and I found it to hold up very well, and I wept much.
And wept.
Then I got my 4K TV, and I had a 4K disc of E.T., and I popped in the 4K disc just to do some sampling, just to be like, let's look at some E.T. It looks very nice in 4K. I rewatched the final scene, disconnected from the plot surrounding it, and I wept.
Oh my gosh. Aww. I get like a visceral reaction even thinking about it. Like right now, if you were like, hey, E.T.'s not upstairs. Hey, you can go do that, or you can go walk on a bed of nails. I'd be like, I'm going to have to think about it. I'm not sure.
There's like 3 things in all of cinema that are guaranteed to make me cry, and The Lesson of E.T. is one of those things.
Yeah, I see it.
I was like, get out. Just get out. Go back to your home.
I am so angry at you that I can't even come up with a good pun.
I'm hearing is that when the aliens do come, we can't let Carrie have any kind of first contact with them because she'll be racist towards them.
Exactly.
No, I'm just saying I love certain types of aliens, just E.T. in particular.
Yeah, aliens that look like you.
Aliens that are Caucasian women.
Aliens who aren't brown. No, I might add.
I am moving on from this line of questioning.
I'm still working on it. More like PT, the Fuckstra Terrestrial. I don't know. Extraterrestrial. What do you fucking do with all those S sounds?
There's so many terrestrials in there. We'll leave it there. I think that's good enough and hard to do for a movie that you cry in and is so beloved. Mandy, take it away to your number 3, and I'm hoping it's something that will be more horrifying to Tim to take the pressure off of myself.
Literally not a possibility.
I do not think it's going to be more horrifying.
There's literally not a film that exists that would bother me more than you having E.T. on your list. Continue, Mandy.
Yeah, I guess that's probably true. This is the one that I think and by everybody, I actually just mean everybody in the Discord, but possibly y'all too, knows is coming, because they were commenting on how it was coming before I even made this list. This is definitely a case of what the hell movie did all you see? The context for this one too is that the year was 2014, and 2 horror movies came out at right around the same time. And one of them was this one. And I didn't actually get to this one for a while. It was a period of time where I wasn't going to the theater a lot. And the other one was a movie that we all had the pleasure and joy of watching together recently, which was Unfriended. And the wisdom that I heard at the time was like, don't waste your time on Unfriended. The other one, though, is really good. You got to see the other one. The other one's so good. It's the best horror movie that's come out in years. And so when I did eventually get around to seeing these, the first time I saw this one, I was like, that was fine, I guess. I also then saw Unfriended. I saw Unfriended around the same time, and I loved Unfriended. And I recognize that that is a weird personality quirk of mine to some degree, but I did love Unfriended. And I was kind of like, I think we did this movie a little bit dirty in comparison to the other one, but whatever, it was fine. Then later on, I sat down to watch this one again. And I was like, now that this is no longer new, this movie is not fine. In fact, this movie kind of sucks. And that is 2014's It Follows. I'm sorry, everybody in the Discord. Like I said, you knew it was coming. I don't find this movie scary at all. I don't find this movie clever at all. I'm not going to join the camp of the people who are like, well, just move across the ocean and you can get away from the following monster. Because like, I don't really like to do that of like dissecting all the things that this movie got wrong about its world cinema sins style. But I will say, just build a moat around your house and fill the moat with tar, and then the thing won't follow you anymore. But regardless of that, the thing that just kills me anytime I sit down to watch this movie is the long and meandering and confusing explanation of how exactly the monster works, which every time I hear it, I'm just like, huh? Like, what is that and why? There are too many rules to the way these things work. They don't actually play around with any of the possible rules that they've created. So like the thing can be anyone, anywhere, anytime was one of the rules. And then they never do anything cool with that premise. Like it's never like pretending to be somebody that she knows really well, or it's never like hiding in a crowd except for in one shot. It's just like random scary people throughout that like anybody is going to take off and run from in any direction. And for the rest of it, just like, I don't find it suspenseful. I don't find it scary. I find the end to be a major letdown. And I'm just like, and I also find the movie to be just living inside of its own ass. Like there is no movie as clever as this movie thinks it is.
And Tim, 5 stars for you. Do you love this movie? Because I haven't seen it.
I'm at 3.5. It is a movie I like less every time I see it. So I'm not terribly put off by this opinion. I
believe the last time I saw it, I gave it 1.5 stars.
There you go. I am curious. What do you feel about its musical score?
The musical score is pretty good. The score is one of the better aspects of it. I would also be hard pressed to describe the score to you right now.
It is a sort of very John Carpenter-y homage type thing. To me, the score is where this movie like lives. Like if you take the score out of this movie, I probably don't like it at all. You put the score in, I think it's pretty damn good. So I can't get too umbraged on the movie's behalf because I know that most people do not weight the score of a movie as heavily as I do. And for me, this is very much a movie about his music.
I'm also just kind of like, cool, then I can buy the soundtrack album if I want, and then I don't have to watch It Follows again.
You could do
like,
the
I mean,
same.
I don't know that I want to listen to the music outside of the film. It's not like beautiful music.
It's kind of like E.T.
I listen to pretty weird movie music outside. Like
fair enough.
I will routinely have the Goblin soundtrack to Suspiria playing when I am working in my classroom.
That's just a great piece of music. That's different. That's very different.
I will probably buy the soundtrack of Smile when it comes out. Let's put it that way.
Smile? Okay, I loved that score. I could not possibly listen to it outside of that context, but I did love it in the context of the movie.
It's so good.
It's so good.
All right, kids.
So I will also say
kids.
Smile is the better version.
Yeah, also Smile for me was a 3-star movie. Like I liked it less than you did, I think, but I still liked it. It Follows can go suck itself.
Okay, kids. Tim, you do have a timeline on this episode, just so you know, and I want to keep you on track.
I'm keeping an eye on the clock. I'm keeping an eye on the clock.
You and Mandy are going to just run off because now you have somebody that agrees with you, and now you're going to go have all of your chat. It's nice. I know.
only have one thing to say in this moment, Carrie.
Yes. What's that?
More like shit follows.
Oh, there you go.
Mic drop. Actually, pick it back up.
That one was a nice, easy one. Thank you. I've had some rough ones.
You've had some rough ones.
Slam dunk.
Pick it back up because it's actually your turn. What is your number 3?
I actually feel a little bad about this one because I'm fairly sure, Mandy, that you specifically love this movie.
I'm pretty sure I know what's coming right now.
Is it a certain movie about the Holocaust?
That is 100% what is coming right now. Bring it on.
The world's most frustrating idiot clown.
Bring it
being just
on.
an absolute constant dork for like 7 hours.
It on.
Roberto Benigni's 1997 shit show, Life is Beautiful.
This movie is beautiful. I don't care what you have to say. Go for it.
I would like to see Roberto Benigni, not even the character, the human being. I'd like to see him torn apart by two semi-trucks with chains attached to his arms on either side. I find him such an off-putting screen presence. That's really what this is about. I find Benigni like unwatchable as a screen. And this is like pure unfiltered Benigni. He's being like a charming, goofy clown when he's flirting with a lady in the first half, and he's being a charming, goofy clown when he's trying to diminish the reality of the Holocaust to his child in the second half. This movie makes me, I find it like rubbing sandpaper on my skin every frame of this film.
Ugh.
Carrie, have you seen this movie?
No, you know what? I meant to, because when I was younger, when I was in like high school or college, I remember this being on the list of like everybody's got to see it, and I confused it with A Beautiful Mind, which was a different movie, and
also a movie I hate, but not a movie that everybody loves. So
not
I didn't feel
exactly. So I haven't gone back to it, but Mandy, do you think I would like it?
I do think you would.
I also
think you would.
I think you would love this movie a lot.
I do love rubbing sandpaper on my skin when watching movies.
No, it's so sweet.
It's so sweet.
It is.
I hate sweet.
Okay, I understand.
E.T.
You just spent like 15 minutes defending E.T. and E.T.
That is also sweet. Yes. Well, I don't like Italian sweet.
But okay, fine.
That's very specific.
You just want Italians to go to cannibal tribes and massacre them. That's all you want out of Italians. That is all I want. If Roberto Benigni had taken his child to a cannibal tribe and left him there, I would have liked this movie a lot more. I would watch the hell out of that movie.
Obviously.
just so we are all clear. But Carrie, it's basically a 2-part story, and the first part is just the sweetest love story. It's a very like fairy tale type love story. And then the second part, I'm not going to tell you too much about, even though Tim already kind of mentioned it. But like, I think that
they go to the camps.
They go to the camps.
They go to the camps.
They go to the camps. They go to the camps.
I love camps.
Remarkably poor taste.
But the thing is, you have to, and I realize this is a tall order, but I think you have to look at it less as a Holocaust movie and more as just a story about the sacrifices that parents make for their kids
during the Holocaust.
I hate those.
And the lengths to which parents will go to protect their kids from things that would harm them, even if those lengths make the parents look incredibly stupid.
Okay. Right now, it feels like it would be devastating to me.
But
you would love this movie. You would give this movie 5 stars, Carrie.
You will cry so hard, and then you will give it 5 stars.
Okay.
I find this. So when people talk about like, and Spielberg's a perfect comparison. You just brought up E.T. When people talk about Spielberg as being like manipulative and like pandering and all that, this is a movie that for me hits all the things.
But I want to be manipulated this way.
I guess I don't want to be manipulated this way, and I can't explain why this movie bothers me and something like E.T. does not. But this movie bothers the fun.
But also, we already diverged in that. Like I realized that I am definitely at least the only person in our little community who feels this way. I adore Roberto Benigni. I can't even really explain why, because I feel like there are things about his shtick that should annoy me, but I don't know. I find him so charming.
I respect that. He makes me feel like I'm clawing for oxygen, like I'm just trying to swim up to the surface of the ocean and I'm being pulled down by an undertow, and that undertow is his his constant mugging and face pulling.
You did like him in Down by Law, though, didn't you?
I did like him in Down by Law.
Oh, being called out by somebody who actually looks at your ratings, Tim. Being called out.
No, just because for me, for the Patreon, Tim recently reviewed a movie that has Roberto Benigni in it. And I think
for which the difference between me giving that movie 3 stars and 4 stars was the presence of the Benigni sequence. I got to be honest.
Really?
I really did not like that sequence at all. It felt so
long. The one that you crapped all over was the Winona Ryder sequence.
Yeah, but that one was just like indie, and it's just like I could float with that. I was also trying to talk less about the ones that came later on in the movie.
Fair. And also, the Benigni sequence in that movie makes me laugh and laugh hard every time I see it.
All right, Tim, would you say, in fact, that movie Life is bogus?
I mean, since I've been running the scatology, I might as well just say life is pootiful.
Oh, I don't know what a puta is, but
or la vita e smella.
There you go.
We'll take that. And we're going to head to...
Because La Vita e Bella is the title.
I got it. We're going to head to my number 3, which I'm again going to cover up your face, Tim. because I think that you also like this movie. And this is the one where I realized I'm a terrible liar. I understand it. I'm acknowledging it. I think I originally gave this 3 stars, but I think it's only because I think the main actor was a little bit hot. I think that got like 2 stars to the movie, and then one was like a pity star.
That's valid.
It's valid. It was really valid. I was bothered by this immediately. I don't love when anybody goes by their full name. That's just like super pretentious to me. I didn't care why this guy died. I also felt 10% compelled to actually know who or what the twist was, because you don't know. You're only revealed sort of like a 1-word thing that I didn't care about. I didn't care about it at all. And that is Rosebud. I didn't care about Rosebud. I didn't care about anything that this movie would culminate in. Why the H would you whisper about your sled on your deathbed? I don't care. It'd be like when I'm older and I was like, I'm about to die, and I'm like, my Schwinn. Like, how stupid is that? Like it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. So after evaluating it, after actually retrospecting on the whole thing, I decided that Citizen Kane is also garbage. And I would never watch it again.
That is a spicy take.
This movie's not very interesting in any way.
I mean, I don't even, you're just wrong. And you're wrong in an uninteresting way. I don't even know why I would bother engaging with that.
Again, like if you actually step back, you're like, oh, some old guy whispered about his sled before he died. Okay, cool. And now some rich dude that was like kind of mean and wasn't super nice and not really compelling in any way. Like we track through his life. Wow. And then it's like material things are not important. Goodbye. Like it's just, and 99% of people say it's good. I'm not tracking with it, is what I'm saying.
I respect your right to have this just flagrantly pointless opinion.
What's not a pointless? I think 1% of people out there are right on this. You're saying you got to the end of this movie and you're like, wow, you really got me there. Like, cool. Like, loved that twist.
No one born after 1945 doesn't know that Rosebud is the sled. Like, that's not, you don't watch this movie for its twist ending.
Well, that's why I watched it the whole time.
I knew that Rosebud was the sled like 10 years before I saw the film.
I didn't read any spoilers. So the whole time I'm like, is Rosebud like, ooh, a lost lover, like a past lover? Who's it going to be? Maybe her name is Rosebud. Maybe it's a last name and it's a man. Like, who knows? And then it was just like, oh, it's an inanimate object that he had when he was a child. Like, boo-hoo. I'm glad it's over. So that is my number 3.
So more
this neither surprises me nor terribly upsets me, because I'm also just kind of like, Citizen Kane is Citizen Kane. It doesn't really need me to defend it.
This is where I'm at. It's like a Citizen Kane.
Good. I'm glad to leave it there.
We are 10 days from Citizen Kane being reaffirmed as one of the 3 best movies of all time. It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah. It's fine.
Pretty much. Carrie.
I will say though that like, as much as this is kind of like, as much as I will like acknowledge that like Citizen Kane is an objectively great movie, it is a movie that I would have to be in a very strange and specific mood to want to sit down and watch at this point.
Like medicated or on some sort of drug or some sort of...
Not necessarily that, but it would just have to be like, it would have to be a very bizarre and specific kind of nostalgia that I'm not sure I can really describe. And so that's the other reason that I'm just like, Citizen Kane doesn't need me to defend it, but also Citizen Kane specifically doesn't need me to defend it because I would do a bad job of it.
Okay. All right.
All I have to say is shit is in pain.
Citizen Insane. It could be anything. There's so many options with that one. All right. Well, I need to go reapply some deodorant. So I'm going to do that. We'll probably head to our break. But before we head to our break, you might be wondering about ways to support the show. You can go out to our Patreon page and become one of those. Get early access to exclusive content, make us watch a movie, pick your own episode topic, and more, just like David Mathers and Brian Tuttle, who picked up our Emmy Award levels, and James Prosholt, who picked up our Critics' Choice Award, entitling him to a written review from Tim. So we thank you guys all so much for that. Also, want to thank all of our listeners who support the show and make their Amazon purchases through our site. Doing it is easy. Go out to our website at alternateending.com, click through the banner, and seamlessly go about your purchases. All proceeds go to making our show better. Holy smokes, guys, I'm going to have to jump around a little bit. You guys have some really random things this time of year that you are interested in. Some of you are interested in puttering about in a small land, and you needed a book about it. I'd love to putter about along with you. Also, the Kevin Smith collection. Is that the Kevin Smith I'm thinking of? Is that the guy
I imagine so.
From Dogma? They picked up the whole collection. Seems like an interesting pick. Also,
We have someone doing a rewatch of, I think, his entire View Askew universe.
Oh, okay. Okay. Is that a good choice?
It is a choice that people are allowed to make.
Okay. Okay. That sounds good. So many people picking up things for their dogs this time of year. Flea and tick, you definitely need to do that. You also need to pick up Gum Care toothpaste for your dog as well. Those things can get really dirty. Also, in books and textbooks, you can get Step Aside, Pops, a Hark, a Vagrant collection.
Oh, I love Hark and Vagrant. That's a really good webcomic.
Oh, you heard of this? Okay. All right.
Kate Beaton.
All right. What have you heard of Nuestra Parte de Noche? Our Night Party, the Spanish edition.
Nope.
No. What about Maybe One, a case for smaller families? I totally agree with that plan. Anybody? One child?
I don't like large families, but I have not heard of this book.
You're one of a smaller one. I have 2 children, and I say that is enough. That is
I think you
enough
could pretty
indeed.
easily get rid of one of them.
I agree. So, also, people picked up Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, which I recently watched and did not love. I hope you love it, though. I hope you love that movie. Also, everyone's picking up stuff for the holidays, candy canes. Someone's picking up so much butter, and it's really expensive butter. So we appreciate that.
I don't know why that phrase is hilarious. Someone's picking up so much butter.
They're getting very gold butter. And I'm telling
If
you.
that showed up on one of our shirts, I would buy that. Sure.
It's the most expensive of the butters. Rob just today was like, Carrie, if you're doing mashed potatoes for Thanksgiving, you need to pick up the Kerrygold. But this was not me. So I need to go out. Secretly, I'm going to go to Costco because it's too
for the best
expensive.
mashed potatoes, pro tip,
Yeah.
don't just use butter. Use a mixture of butter and cream cheese.
I do that. I also put in a little sour cream, and I do lots and lots of garlic, and I leave the peels on. I'm a bit of a pro.
Oh yeah.
My
things.
very spicy take that will get me way more in trouble than any of my movie takes is that I don't like mashed potatoes.
I hope Florida falls into the sea and takes you with
Is
it.
there? I was just trying to see. Is there a way to eject her from this meeting?
There is. You're the host.
I
It's
don't
very easy
know
for you to
how
do
though
that.
on the fly, but I'm gonna find out for the next time, Mandy. That is the most horrifying thing you've said today.
Potatoes are amazing, but you should be able to chew your potatoes and not just
when
swallow
your
them.
potatoes are covered in wonderful various dairy forms. and
Cream
you can just,
cheese
like,
is
sort of
also bad, by the way.
But you fiend.
I just eat cream
Moving on,
cheese
moving
plain
on.
sometimes. I love it. Cream cheese with all the things. Oh my gosh, I just eat it every day.
I have literally just had cream cheese plain because I was like, there's cream cheese in the house. I don't know what to put it on.
On crackers,
I'll
on
just
eggs.
eat it.
Yeah, just eat it out of the tub. Yeah,
I'm
do
going to
too.
stop saying food things now.
Oh, wow. Also getting lots of bug repellent for your dogs, and they appreciate that too. All right, I think at this point, I'm going to head to Tim Sack, if you don't mind.
You're going to head to Tim Sack.
I'm going to head
the way I like
right there. I realized from a hosting perspective that comes off a little bit weird. I'm used to getting thrown. So I'm going to read you guys a question. You tell me if you have an answer. This one comes straight to your sack, Tim. It's your friends, Rionak and Mandy. I'm talking about you, Mandy, even though you're in the room.
This seems like a setup of some sort.
I don't know. We'll find out. I even haven't read the question myself. We were just watching Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Is it about how people who don't like mashed potatoes should be literally stripped of their voting rights? Because I believe the answer is yes.
It is not. I'm sorry.
This is a yes/no answer, and that is the answer. So, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs from 1937. It's the old one.
Good picture.
It is a picture with Mandy's beautiful son. He is very cute. And there's a shot early on with rippling water. The shot where Snow White is leaning over the well. Oh, I remember that one. And the shot is looking up from the bottom of the well. Droplets fall in and ripple out toward the edges of the screen. It is magic. Do you, in your animation wisdom, know how they did that in 1937? Is it a miracle or watercolor or a miracle of watercolor? Any of those things, Rhiannoch and Mandy, even though it's mostly Rhiannoch.
So I don't know how they did it specifically in Snow White. I know how they did the water effects in Pinocchio, but that was, of course, a couple years later. They might have changed things. First point, yes, it is watercolor. Snow White was the last, no, Snow White, Dumbo, and Lilo and Stitch are the 3 Disney films to use watercolors. The backgrounds in Snow White would have been watercolors, the cells would not, so depending on what exactly we're looking at. My best guess is that they were using the multiplane camera setup, which is this device that basically puts layers of animation on like glass plates that are separated by several inches. I suspect there was a plate that was strictly being used for water effects, and they probably actually used like sort of carved shaped glass to create a distortion in it, would be my best guess. So I think you're literally looking at honest to God distortion, not like drawn distortion. Again, that's how they did it in Pinocchio. I assume that's how they did it in Snow White because they don't do it very often. So they're probably like testing it out in Snow White. But I don't actually know. That's something I could probably get an answer for because I do have the Great Big Book of Snow White, but I don't know that specific shot.
That does make sense, your explanation. All I will say is that is the prettiest water I think I have ever seen on a television screen. It's
standard water.
All right. Well, thank you for your questions. If you have a question like Rhiannoch and Mandy, you can submit your questions to contact@alternatingending.com. All right. Well, when we get back, we'll be back with our top 2 movies that you love and we hate to fully crush your souls. And we're back. I have the deodorant on. I feel better. Splash some water on my face. I think we're going to go into 1 and 2 fully aligned.
I am weirdly unfluffed and unstressed right now. I'm feeling good. The only thing that
I feel good.
Again, I'm considerably more nonplussed by Mandy's deranged ape-like food takes than anything she said about movies.
Okay, look, there are like 3 foods in the world that I do not like.
What are the other 2?
That is how.
And you picked 2 real bad ones for that list.
I don't like avocados, and I don't like most forms of cheese, and I literally can't eat bananas because they will make my mouth swell up.
What
does that even mean?
I don't like cheese.
Let us move on.
Let's just not
Indeed.
talk
Okay.
about it. Let's
So
not
now
talk
that
about it.
now that I've caused all of Tim's blood vessels to burst, Tim's going to be okay with all of my movie takes.
I
from here
once
on out.
did a Would You Rather game where I literally came down on I would become celibate and possibly castrated before I would give up cheese.
And I agreed.
So-
I agreed.
so
I think I was in
You
that
now
game.
you now know my relationship to cheese.
Yes.
Fair enough. You should look on this as a blessing because you get all of the cheese in the world that I do not eat.
I
am sending it all to you.
Thank you.
So anyway, that's going to make my spicy movie takes feel very mild by comparison. And actually, so we're getting into death threat territory here, but it's occurring to me that I might actually be safe with this one because I think that dear, sweet, wonderful Brennan may have already taken the brunt of this one for me. And so now I'm just providing the aftershock. But I do remember that after you and Brennan featured this movie on Bride of Alternate Ending, he and I had a private conversation where we bonded over what does everybody else see in this movie that we do not see. It feels even weirder for me because unlike Brennan, I am a huge Mel Brooks fan. I love Mel Brooks' shtick, and yet 1974's Young Frankenstein does nothing for me.
All right.
I cannot explain to you why. I just don't find it funny. I adore Blazing Saddles. I adore High Anxiety. I adore the producers. Young Frankenstein just doesn't do it for me. Like, I know the things that are supposed to be funny, and occasionally I will chuckle at one of them. Like, Marty Feldman turning to the camera and going, Bluka, will always, in fact, make me giggle a little bit. But for the rest of the movie, I'm just kind of like, eh.
And Tim, is this a 5-star movie for you?
Is this the part where I'm supposed to laugh?
Where are you at on this one, Tim?
I like it a lot. I certainly think it's a funnier movie than Blazing Saddles, but comedy is subjective. Can't get pissed off at you for that.
He's still
And as you
upset
said,
about
I've
the
already
potatoes.
I've already exhausted myself on Brennan as far as that goes.
Yeah, so I get a little bit of a break because Brennan already took one for the team on this one. Thank you very much, Brennan. But yeah, like it's somewhere in the top 10 of AFI's 100 years, 100 laughs list. And I'm just like, I don't
Not
get
for
it.
you. Not for
I've tried it
Mandy.
a few times, and every time I go in, I'm like, this is the one where it's finally going to click. And it never does.
It never does.
It never does.
Carrie, where do you fall on this movie?
I have not seen this.
You're kidding.
But I will tell you, don't tell Mandy, I don't really like Blazing Saddles. I don't think I like Mel Brooks, actually, either.
That actually shocks me.
All right. I think we may have talked about this years ago, but I watched Blazing Saddles with my dad. And
it seems like a great movie to watch with your dad.
My dad, not my dad. I think it seems like a movie you could, but I think all of the like racist stuff and like all of the like.
Was he laughing with it, not at it?
No, my dad does this thing where it's like he leaves the room when he's uncomfortable, like, and won't address it. So he was just gone for like half the movie, and then like. I just kept anticipating it was the first time me seeing it just a couple of years ago. I just kept anticipating where it was going to go. Is it pretty homophobic too?
Yeah.
Yeah. That part of it, he also left the room. And then I was like, what's it going to say? What are they going to say when he comes back? So I was anxious about like, how much worse is this going to get? And how many more times is my dad going to leave to go to the bathroom or like refill his Coke? And so it was an anxious experience for me. And I don't know that I was in the mood for all of the like the humor.
I think that it is charged in a way other Mel Brooks films are not. I would not encourage you to not watch other Mel Brooks films.
Okay. All right.
Because I feel like he would like Mel Brooks. Maybe
I'm sure he probably does. He probably is also like, what is Carrie thinking? This is really offensive. And so then
I'm
he
also,
would leave.
honest to God, shocked that you haven't seen Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Oh, I have. I love that.
That's Mel Brooks.
That's Mel Brooks, yeah.
Oh, maybe it's not so bad. I do love that movie so much.
History of the World Part 1 is another one that just like every time I see anything from that movie, I will laugh and laugh very hard.
Okay. Well, I'll give it another try alone. I'm going to watch it alone or with somebody with my sensibilities.
I would trot out Young Frankenstein before I tried to return to Blazing Saddles.
Okay.
Notwithstanding Mandy's opinion.
All right. Okay.
Again, everybody else seems to think it's great except me and Brennan.
All right, Tim.
And you don't want to be like them. You want to be like a cool guy like me.
That's what everybody says. That's what everybody says.
I don't got one. I'm sorry.
Young Spankenstein.
More like dumb Frankenstein.
Yay.
There, that works too. Tim, give me your number 2.
So my number 2, big old steaming pile of shit that it is, because that's what a number 2 is in reference to. Is again, you know what I don't like? I don't like nice movies. Mm-hmm. I don't like sweet movies. I don't like sentimental movies. I don't like movies about learning lessons, and I don't like movies about kind souls finding their way through the world. And I fucking do not like Forrest fucking Gump.
It was my number 6. We almost overlapped.
You're kidding.
I freaking hate this movie so much.
I had no idea you hated this movie.
Hate it. Sad. No, but we hate it for different reasons. I don't think it was sweet. I think it was depressing and sad. And this was another reason I had to go to therapy in 6th grade. Forrest Gump and E.T. That was on my list.
I'll take it. I don't care why you don't like Forrest Gump. I'm shocked you don't like Forrest Gump. I feel like you and I just bonded a little bit.
So time for a confession. I haven't seen Forrest Gump.
Well, you don't need to because
apparently I don't have to.
It's not good.
You would hate it. It's just all the things. It's so sad. It's so tragic. And then on top of it, it's like trying to be sweet and layer in sweetness. And then it's mean. And then it's all the things that I just don't like. And I remember feeling sad for weeks.
Would I hate it though? Because I like things that are sad and tragic, and sentimentality sometimes really gets to me.
No,
I mean,
I don't
people
know.
love it. This was the one where I had to really like interrogate. Do people still like this? Like, it feels like people don't still like this. And it's sort of the thing that like normal people point to film Twitter as being like, film Twitter is weird because they all dislike Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
So like I live in bubbles within bubbles of people who hate Forrest Gump. So I never encountered the opinion Forrest Gump is good out in the wild.
Yeah.
So I've been able to convince myself people don't like it, but I think people do.
So
I think people still really like this movie.
I can tell you it's still at a 98% on a tomato meter rating, but I think it's hard to give that movie like less than 2.5 stars. I think that's why it's getting that rating.
I mean, I gave it 2.5, but I'm a rotten.
But
I'm
you're
part of the 2%.
or sorry, under. So you're part of it. But then the
it has a 4.1 average rating on Letterboxd.
See, so Letterboxd is
yeah.
what I needed to use to convince myself, because like Letterboxd feels like Letterboxd should have seen through this movie and Letterboxd hasn't, and that feels okay.
But the audience rating for Rotten Tomatoes is low, so it's like 70%, which is pretty big disconnect.
That is quite low, actually.
I think people are getting colder on it. I think people have changed their perspectives. I think when people saw it years and years ago, it was 5 stars for everybody. I think over time, it's worn on people a bit. So
good, because it is a maudlin sack of crap. Tom Hanks' performance, while very technically accomplished, is also just kind of like shticky and dumb, and everything about the plot is just cumbersome and full of all these like cutesy pie little like look at me, I'm being clever moments that I find just agonizing. Invented the modern era of the like, let's just dump a whole bunch of songs from your youth onto the soundtrack to like sort of trigger this automatic nostalgia boost that is completely unearned. It's just because, they had trillions of dollars to spend on the soundtrack rights. It's a Zemeckis film, and Zemeckis was still making good movies, so it is like technically accomplished, and it has very nice effects for the time. They haven't aged well at all. The effects have aged very poorly, but it was very cool when it came out. I find this movie insufferable.
would you, Tim, say it's a Forrest slump?
I would say it's more like a forced dump.
Yeah, that's where I thought he was going.
I keep lightening it, and you keep bringing it back to fecal matter.
I feel like
time.
at this point I'm in
you're settled into it.
I feel like it's a good channel to be in.
Yeah, no, I agree. Speaking of, what did you just call it? A dump? Speaking of dumps.
Dump, yes.
Speaking of dumps, let's go to my number 2.
Good, that was good.
I'm going to take a few deep breaths before I say this one. I think this was a Patreon pick, and I think it's another one I lied about. Just to be 100% honest and fair. That's what I'm trying to do this year. In this year that I'm in, I'm going to try and be more honest.
There's one thing we need in 2022. It's more hostility in the world.
More hostility, but me being more honest with you. I did not like this movie. I have a hard time with anime in the first place. Why do I care about you? Why do I care about your parents? I don't really care that they've transitioned into being animals. I don't know where they've gone. Why have they abandoned you?
Oh, I thought your pick was going to be Totoro.
No, I need to rewatch that before I can fully say that I hate it. And I haven't. This one, I have seen the whole thing. I don't care. I don't care where your parents are. I don't care about the demons. I hope the demons eat you. I don't care about you at all. This is Spirited Away. And I'm sorry. Audience score of 96, overall 95%. I just didn't care. I just didn't care about this girl. I guess.
This is one of the Ghibli movies I do like.
Really?
Yeah.
So here's my thing. I will say one that I hate more than this is actually Paprika, which was another Patreon. Sorry, I hope you're not listening. That whole one was just a train wreck for me, but not everybody loves that. Everybody loves Spirited Away.
No, Spirited Away is clearly more loved than Paprika.
So that's why I chose that. I had to narrow my anime. But yeah, Spirited Away, I walked away from this and I was just like, why did you, it doesn't matter to me. I just wanted it to be over the whole time. And that is my number 2.
I feel like what is putting films towards the top of your hate list is that you found them boring.
It's just like blah and boring and not memorable in any way.
I was expecting more like rage, like E.T. seemed to be raged at E.T.
No,
you just sort of find Spirited Away to be a neutral bland experience.
Feel like it's like way overhyped and overrated. It's just like a blah experience. I didn't think the animation was that great. I didn't think there's anything special about it. And the fact
you're straight up inaccurate when you say that the animation wasn't great. Like that is a factual misstatement.
I read another comment on our website, and somebody else agreed with me that the animation was wrong.
Can we just do a quick show of hands? Who's doing their PhD in animation? Only one of us. Okay, you're wrong, Carrie.
You haven't graduated yet.
Cheap.
You haven't graduated yet, have you?
So am I.
I
What was that?
graduated college. You haven't graduated yet, so we don't know how good you actually
I
are
graduated college.
Or wait.
I graduated college in 2004.
or whatever level of school you're in now.
And then he went back because he hates himself.
It's a glutton for punishment. But you know what? You might get to that meeting where they're like, hey, do you know anything about film? And they're going to be like, hey, what do you think about Spirited Away, Tim? And you're going to be like, it's amazing. And they're going to be like, declined. And then I'll be like, well, I was right.
Okay, well, if that happens,
Yeah.
I will come back and I'll tell you.
Okay, I appreciate that. So that's my number 2, Mandy.
More
number-
like, oh wow, this one I don't got one. I for sure don't got one. More like P-rated. No, I got nothing.
No.
Spirited Don't Slay.
Yeah.
Sure.
More like Spirited. Go away, you dumb little girl. You're stupid, and I don't like you.
That's like how I feel. That's how I feel.
Dear.
I just so don't like you. I feel like this is so hurtful. This episode is so hurtful. So many people are cringing right now.
This is so much less hurtful than I was expecting it to be.
I'm having fun.
Oh,
I don't know if
good.
I'll still be having fun in a moment.
I'm not going to keep belaboring how some people's relationships to delicious side dishes that are a staple of the American table got under my skin, but that's the only thing that's actually bothered me about
They
this
are
episode.
so much better baked and fried and roasted and any other way that you could prepare them. Why would you take all of the texture out of them?
I'm not going to call. Well, first off, if you've taken all the texture out, they're over mashed, and that's on the person who made them.
And you took the skins off, which is also
that's
on
not on the
maker.
dish itself.
Yeah, leave those skins on.
But you could simply not mash them and then they would be superior. Anyway, now that I've got you good and mad again, because, okay, this is the one that I'm scared about.
Okay, I'm going to go into my sweatshirt. I'm going to go into
so
my sweatshirt.
This is, like I said, I ranked mine in order of how many death threats I expect to get. After a quick check, this was a Best Picture nominee. It's at a 4.2 average, I believe, on Letterboxd. Both of you personally have this at 5 stars.
Oh,
All
no, I'm so scared right now.
Okay.
I'm so excited right now.
I need to make a couple of disclaimers.
I guarantee I don't like it as much as I like cheese, FYI.
I need to make a couple of disclaimers before I actually say what it is.
Okay.
The first disclaimer is I'm scared enough about this that this is the only movie that I have ever lied about my star rating on Letterboxd for.
Oh.
I actually went and deleted it for honesty's sake this morning because it was a lie. It was a lie because I'm scared of how much I don't like this movie. The second disclaimer is I feel like hate is a little bit too strong a word. I am indifferent towards this movie. And in a way, I feel like that's actually worse because everybody's going to be like, how could you possibly not feel anything as a result of watching this movie? And the third disclaimer, and this is going to give away what it is that yes, like everybody else in the entire world, including people from uncontacted tribes who don't actually know what movies are, I do in fact agree that the first 15 to 20 minutes of the movie are masterful.
Oh, well, this is just wrong, Mandy. This is just
I
wrong. We don't
go
agree
for it.
with you.
I just think
Say
it should have stopped there.
I can't
I
believe
just
Tim
ordered
gave
the
this
4K
5
on
stars.
Criterion. I'm so excited. I'm going to watch it and just jack off while I'm watching it. 'Cause it's
Ew.
gonna be
I
pretty
didn't.
exciting.
I didn't need to know that.
During a war movie? Why would you do that
very
during?
high on the list of things I didn't need to know.
Are we talking about the same movie?
That's not really going to happen.
Well, but
Jesus Christ.
I'm glad you don't like it as much as you like cheese. But anyway, this is 2009's Up.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Saving
I think you're
Private
talking
Ryan.
Wally.
No, I love Wally. I don't like Up.
Oh,
Well,
I'm much less upset now.
Oh, okay, good.
I thought you were jacking
I
off to
didn't get that.
Saving Private Ryan, and I was like, "That's weird,
No.
Tim."
Oh, I don't
Wally-
like Saving Private Ryan.
I know.
No, Wally. Okay, now everything's better. Wally is one of my very favorite Pixar films.
Oh.
But I don't like Up.
Oh, okay, that's fine. I don't care.
Okay, good. And
You,
yet-
you see,
And yet
I
you-
set myself up for the worst case scenario.
And yet you have Up at 5 stars on Letterboxd. Both of you do. It's listed as one of Carrie's favorite
It
movies.
is one of my
adore
favorite
Up,
movies.
but I adore Up, and Wally is part of my soul.
Fair enough.
the difference.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. So again, like everybody else, I do love the first 15, 20 minutes of Up. They are really, really beautiful. Everybody cries storytelling. And after that, I don't remember anything that happened. I've seen this movie multiple times, and every time during the experience I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, that was kind of fun. And then 5 minutes after I'm done watching it, the movie is gone from my brain. Like, I remember 3 things. I remember that there's a kid and he's kind of annoying. I remember that there is a bird and dogs. And I remember that there's a villain who kind of sucks.
The villain for sure kind of sucks. That is an unabashed truth. Those
are the 3 things about Up that I remember. And yet whenever people talk about Up, it's always like in everybody's very top tier of Pixar. Like, it's one of the masterpieces. It's like the very height of Pixar's craft, often along with WALL-E. And again, since the theme of my list is what the hell movie did you people see? That's what my reaction always is. What the hell movie did you people see? For a while, I have had it at 3.5 stars on Letterboxd because I was scared. I think my actual rating for Up is probably closer to the 2.5 star range.
Wow.
If I'm being totally honest.
Wow.
I appreciate that level of honesty.
I don't at all. I think you should go back to lying, just to fall right into the mainstream there. I think that if you don't really remember what happened, it could be something to talk to your doctor about because it's very impactful.
It's not, though.
I watched this movie with my 102-year-old great-grandma, grandma, mom, myself, Rob, and I think there was maybe one of my small children there. And it will forever. See, I'm so upset. I'm so rattled. I can't even speak anymore. It will forever live in my heart as one of the best experience watching movies that I've ever had. It was
okay, but that's not fair because I can't go in and be like, well, your experience of watching the movie
what
isn't
I'm
valid.
trying to do is guilt you into rating this higher because of my experience with my grandmothers. And I know that's not
I
gonna
see.
work. Yes. Is it working? Is it working?
No, it's not.
It's so good.
Do you genuinely not remember the joke where the dog introduces himself with the line, "I have just met you and I love you"?
Now that you say it, I remember it. And I'm like, oh, okay, that was cute.
It's a very good representation of dog behavior. It's a very good dog movie.
Maybe it's because I have a dog whose goal in life is to be a rock. And she just kind of spends all day sleeping and not moving. But I don't know, like, I feel like that should have more of an impact on me than it does. And that I should laugh at it more than I do. And yet I don't.
That's fair.
We'll move on as my chest is tightening and I will be seeking
more
medical help later.
Like down
on this movie.
Good one. Tim, give us your number 1.
See, they don't all have to be.
They don't have to be bad.
I was gonna go with more like 2 girls, 1 up, but yours was
also. I mean, keeping it on theme, keeping it on brand for sure. Which I admire. But no. So my number 1. I feel there's a weird way in which this is going to feel anticlimactic because, like, people love this movie. I'm certainly not going to say that this is a movie that is not, like, known. This is not loved. This is actually, I believe, of all the films on my list, the highest ranked on the IMDb Top 250. But I don't think it's a movie that, like, people hold to them the way that they hold Forrest Gump or Life is Beautiful or even probably Shrek. But when we came up with this topic, I was like, oh, well, number 1, that's a gimme. I find this movie so incredibly rankling. It's so tacky and syrupy and like full of this like sort of beatific glowing nostalgia that I just find completely unearned. I find the characters devoid of any sort of like interesting elements or merit on any level. I find its treatment of childhood to be about as gooey and sentimentalized as possible to be. And I think I slightly extra hate it because it is about a subject that is particularly near and dear to my heart, which is the love of the movies themselves. And I am referring to the 1988 Oscar-winning Best Foreign Film Italian picture by Giuseppe Tornatore, Cinema Paradiso.
You're just racist against Italians, is what I'm hearing.
I hate the Italians so hard. Everyone who knows me knows this.
I did know that about you. That's
never liked an Italian movie in my life.
I remember that.
I find this movie like just eating, like you're just like burying your face in a whole vat of cotton candy and just like fluff, 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 like for like 2.5 hours.
Wait, is that
and at
bad?
the end of it, I'm just like coated in sugar.
Okay, but is that
like my teeth have rotted out of my skull?
Okay. You don't like cotton candy, is what you're saying?
I don't like only cotton candy for 2.5 hours.
Okay.
This is another movie where I'm like, I find this okay. Like in certain moods, I find it very enjoyable. But I understand and hear everything that you are saying about it, and I'm not going to argue with it because I don't want to.
And I
You
haven't
don't
seen
feel
it.
passion for it.
I haven't seen it.
I really don't.
The thing I challenge on this, Tim, is I don't think very many people have seen this movie. Like, so when you say everybody hates it, or sorry, everybody loves it rather, do they? Because I don't know.
I mean,
Never
it's
even
in the
heard of
top 60 on the IMDb top 250.
Really? Really? Okay. Well,
It is, that being said, attached to a much lower number of ratings than some of the other films. Like, I think it's only like 40 or 50,000 or something like that. Well, let's find out. I have it right in front of me.
Let's put it this way. If I want to take a cinematic bath in maple syrup, which sometimes I do, that is a mood that I get into, there are probably 20 movies that I would go for before I'd go for Cinema Paradiso.
Oh, actually, it's 261,000 people have given it an average rating of 8.5 on IMDb.
huh.
Wow.
I've never even heard of this title. Like that's
It is the top. It's number 52 currently on the top 250.
Wow. That surprises me.
Again, it struck a chord, and I feel it's one of those movies that like people go back to is like, oh, like that's a classic.
Tim.
More like Cinema Inferno. I don't know.
You're waning.
Purgatorio.
You're waning.
Cinema Purgatorio.
Cinema
There we go.
Purgatorio. All right, Tim. I do have a classic, and I would venture, I don't know where this is on the IMDb top 200, but I bet it's in the top 10. Again, I'm going to take 3 more cleansing breaths. There isn't a single character in this movie that I like. I thought when I was younger that there was one character that I liked, but I've rewatched it since I've been older, and I realize I'm no longer a fan of this person. I see him now as just a martyr. I'm like, put on your big lion cub pants, okay? Just pull yourself together. Everybody else in this movie is awful. They're either super, super shrill or super, super breathy in a way that I find unnerving and uncomfortable. And this is 1928's Wizard of Oz.
Well, no, it's not.
1928.
I was hoping you'd correct me because I don't know when it's from, but I wanted to clarify. It's old. It's old. And it shows. This movie sucks.
It's from 1939.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I've seen 1928's Wizard of Oz.
Well,
I mean, there are several other adaptations. I don't think any of them are from 28. And if there are, that's not what they're called. And that's also not the film you're talking about.
fair. But the one in 39 sucks. I do not like this movie.
Aww.
The witches are horrifying. Their face paint's horrifying. The monkeys haunt my dreams still. You know what? I don't like Julie Garland or Judy Garland either.
Well, that's a problem. That's on you.
She's just all.
I will say though,
I don't like
I'm
her.
really sad because I had the P of queef all spooled up for my Tree of Life pun.
Oh.
and you didn't put Tree of Life on your top 5, and I'm really thrown by that. Actually,
I don't think everybody,
loves that.
Is the thing.
It's just you, Tim. It's only
I
you.
do, and I thought she was making a list to make me mad.
Oh, I was only doing that a little bit, not for all of
Okay.
them. This one, Wizard of Oz, is broadly loved. I also don't love musicals. I only put one musical on here. I hate most musicals, but I don't like the singing. Judy Garland is like breathy.
That's a you problem.
It is a me problem. I know other people that don't love them either, but for me, again, I thought I loved the lion, and I'm just like, gosh, you're actually just kind of annoying. Like now, I think I'm pro Tin Man now. Maybe I think he might be the least annoying. I don't know. All of these characters I find off-putting and awful, and nobody is redeeming for me. I do not want her to get back to Kansas. Just want her to end up lost in this weird land with these monkeys and have that be the end of it. And that is Wizard of Oz.
I'm sorry for you.
Yeah, this is another one where I'm just like, I just feel kind of sad for you.
I
now.
feel sorry on your behalf. I don't even.
That's
I'm
making
not
me
even
feel
mad at you.
worse.
I'm just
Attack
sad.
me. Your pity is making me feel worse than attacks. Like that's.
I don't know what to tell you.
All right. You guys love this one?
This is I do love this one, but this is another one where I'm just like, the Wizard of Oz doesn't need me to defend it.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I will take that, and I will take my sorrow with me when we go. Every week, we pick a winner, though. And again, this was really, really tough. Everybody was a winner this week. We wanted everybody to win. So many of you participated. But the winner this week was Avaitor. I believe, who is a person who came in with at number 5, Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse. I have to disagree. I did enjoy that.
I enjoyed it, but I also respect that choice.
Okay. I don't think many people do, but I'm glad you both do. I think at number 4, they have His Girl Friday. Have you seen that one?
Oh, I wish Tim had stuck around for that one. I know Tim loves that.
He got booted out of his room. But at number 3, if Rob was here, he would be crying. It's The Matrix. At number 2, Suspiria, which I'm, as most people know, not hateful of.
Oh, man. Tim left at exactly the wrong moment.
I know. But it's best.
Is number Avaitor. 1 Casablanca?
At number 1 actually aligns with Tim with Forrest Gump. And I guess technically me too. For our audience top 5, which again was pretty steamy. At number 5, they had Midsommar. I don't think people broadly think that one is good. I think everybody hated that, or a lot of people
I know very few people who thought that was good.
I agree. At number 4, Inside Out, which is really
interesting
good too. I really like that one. At number 3, Love Actually. How are you on that one?
I have basically no feelings towards it.
Yeah, same. At number 2, aligned with you, Mandy, Life is Beautiful.
That was aligned with Tim. I love Life is Beautiful.
That's right.
And once again, it is not my fault that all of you are soulless, heartless automatons.
Terrible people. And also at number 1 for the audience top 5 is Forrest Gump.
All right.
That's right. So Avaitor, shoot us an email at contact@alternateending.com to claim your free Amazon Movies rental. In closing, we want to thank you for joining us for this very long and I guess sort of emotional episode, mostly for me. I think you guys handled it well. I'm feeling a little stressed.
I think you handled it well too.
I'm feeling stressed. Again, I'm going to go rewatch.
At no point did you say I deserved to be sunk into the ocean, which is more than we can say for certain other people who were on this episode.
That is fair. You can head out to our social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can go out there and like it. You can go to alternateending.com to catch our movie reviews, podcasts, and more. Go out and subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or Google. And don't forget about Patreon. Next week is something extra special, extra cool. Mandy, I'm going to pass it to you to tell me a little bit about the episode we're going to see next Monday.
So next week, there's a coup. There's a podcast coup. Because 3 of us rose up from the depths and took over the podcast from all 3 of its regular hosts. So next week is kind of a special thing where Rob, Carrie, and Tim won't be there, but don't immediately skip that episode because of that. It's going to be a lot of fun because Brennan, whom you know from Bride of AE, and also podcast newcomer Rhiannoch, who you know from some of her recent lovely movie reviews, and also me, but you don't care, got together to talk about Twilight. And we did for a really long time.
Wait.
And it was a lot of fun.
Was Rhiannoch, you said she came to Florida. You guys recorded in person. Is that right?
She sure did. She was here in this room where I am sitting with me.
Oh my gosh. And had you guys met in person
And it was
before?
super fun. We had not. This was the first time we met each other in person.
Oh, IRL. So fun.
The alternate ending community bringing people together, IRL.
I can't tell you how much I love that. I honestly can't tell you how much I love that. Did she stay down there for a few days or what was her schedule like?
She was down here we actually talk about how we got her down here on that episode of the podcast.
I'm not going to spoil.
But yeah, she was down here for a couple of days and we had a great time. And we recorded this podcast in honor of the 10th anniversary of the release of Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 2, which gave us as good an excuse as any to talk about Twilight for a really long time. We had a great time. We hope you all do too.
Awesome. All right. Well, then we'll catch everybody next week.